Hi guys, I'm here in the costume shop to show you some of the basics of using the sewing machine. This really sucks that we can't be together learning this, but hey, you got this. Today I'm showing you how to use a Bernina 1080. These are the machines that we have in the costume shop. They're really fantastic, light industrial machines. They can do almost anything. So in the slideshow, you'll see a breakdown of the machine and all of the parts, but I'm going to walk you through them here anyway because it's worthwhile. Starting with the controls of the machine, you have a 0 over here on the side. That means no power. A 1 means power, and a 1 with a little light bulb means power plus some light. Over here, you also have the flywheel. This is a manual control of the machine. You always turn it toward you. Always towards you. Remember this, it'll be on your test. All right, looking at the controls on the front of the machine, we'll start at the top. Right here, we have a knob that can control two things. The outside ring controls the stitch width, and that means how far to the left and to the right the stitch goes on your chosen stitch. In the center, this is a needle positioning dial. It means that the needle, do you see that there? It can go all the way to the left, left center, center, right center, and to the right. So most of the time, we want this in the center. If you're doing a straight stitch, you want this knob up here all the way at 0. If you pull it over, it can jump to a maximum of 5. The second knob is our automatic buttonholer. This automatically stores the settings you would need to do a buttonhole, and it goes in order. 1, zigzags down the left side. 2, locks it at the bottom. 3, zigzags up the right. 4, locks it at the top. 5, locks it on the right side. 6, locks it on the left side. Next, we have this lever, which serves two functions. The first function, it's our reverse. We reverse on a sewing machine anytime we want to backstitch. Backstitching is how we lock the stitches when we sew. When you hand sewed, you used a knot. Here, we lift this up and the machine goes in reverse. This is also the stitch length indicator. That means how many stitches per inch are going. So the smaller the number, the tighter the stitches. So if you have it between a 1 and 0, it's going to take many stitches to reach that 1 inch part. At a 5, it takes about 3. So this is very helpful. Most of the time, we want to make sure we're sewing at a stitch length of 3. That's a good in-between of a stitch that will hold well, and also one that's easy to unpick if we need to. Below, we have this knob that has two functions. The outer ring switches between the green stitches and the red stitches. Up here you see what the green and red stitches mean. The green stitches are the ones that we use most often. We have a straight stitch and a zigzag. We have a hemming stitch. We have number 7 is my favorite. It is what I use to hem stretchy items. And the red side are more decorative stitches. In the manual, you can find full explanations of what you would use each and every one for. Here in the shop, we typically use 1 and 2 and 7. If you want to change the stitch, you just pull the lever over and move it up. If the knob is on green, it does a stitch that's green. If it's on red, it does a stitch in the red. The second part of this knob down here works with the feed dogs. If it's on this side, that means the feed dogs are engaged. If it's on this side, it means they disappear, and you can work with what's called a free arm. You would use this if you were quilting or needed to have full control over how quickly the fabric goes through and in what direction. What are feed dogs, you ask? The feed dogs are these little teeth right here. You see how they're in line like sled dogs? And you see how they come from the front and they pull to the back? These are the things, the teeth that will pull the fabric through as you sew. The feed dogs will not pull the fabric through unless you also use the presser foot. That's this foot-shaped thing that presses the fabric down onto the feed dogs and allows the machine to do all the work. Let me show you. I put this fabric in. I'm gonna press go. Look, no hands. How exciting. That was a red stitch, which is one that jumps back and forth. If I switch it over to the green, the standard straight stitch, look how quickly it goes. How a sewing machine works is there's a thread that comes from the top and a thread that comes from the bottom that interlock in the middle between the fabric. How does this work? Let's start with the upper threader. We have our thread. We're going to use some orange so it shows up today. You pop it on the thread spool here. The way I'm showing you to thread this, it's universal how sewing machines work if you follow the steps. So it will work for this. It should work for any single machine you have at home. You start with your thread on the spool. You bring it over to a thread guide along the top. So I'm putting it through this thread guide right here. Next, we go through our tension guide. So right here, there's a little tension adjustment knob. The tension discs are in here. On some machines, your tension discs will be right here. So we pull it down through the tension discs. Once it's through the tension discs, it goes through the lower thread guide, which is this little hook right here. Next, we are going to put it through this arm right here. If you look, there's an arm. Let's bring it closer. There's an arm that goes up and down. This tightens the thread with every single stitch. So we've gone down through the looper and then we go up, pull it over and through. Most loopers will have a little slit so you can get it through that hole up there. And now with every single stitch, it'll go down and come up and tighten. When you're sewing on a machine, the top of the cycle, when this thread tightening arm is at the top, that's where the stitch starts. Whenever you sit down at a machine and you want to start sewing, make sure this thread tightener is at the top. If it's like right here and you start sewing, your thread will begin by pulling backwards, and if you don't have enough of it through the eye of the needle, it'll cause you problems. So once we've gone through the tightening arm, we take it down into the needle. We thread it front to back. Always an adventure with your left hand. All right, we've got our upper looper threaded. Next up, we're going to thread our lower looper. We have a bobbin and we have our bobbin case. In this bobbin case, this is what holds and controls the thread when it comes off the bobbin and goes into the machine. So what we do, flip it upside down, drop your bobbin into the case. Give this a little pull. You want it going clockwise. Oh, not clockwise. So you flip it over. Shazamo, look how it's rolling clockwise for me. And then you are going to pull it through the little slit across the top, nice and flat, and pull it through. You should be able to hold your bobbin by the string and have it float in the air. If it's not this little slit right here, this little arm, that's a tension for the bobbin. So if your bobbin is properly threaded, you should have enough tension from that arm that it will just float. Next, Next, you take your bobbin case and you put it into the lower part of the machine here. There's a little sticky uppy arm right here that'll help you figure out where it goes clockwise, and you push it in and listen for the click. Oh, it's already in there. How about that? You should be able to feel this, the nub of this, when it's in there all the way. Next, we are going to take we're going to hang on to this thread here and watch what happens when you turn the flywheel towards you. That needle goes down, the shuttle at the bottom grabs that orange thread, it sweeps it around, and it pulls it to the top. Pull both threads out the top. Boom, you're good to go. All right, let's look at some different stitches. To begin, the presser foot is up. Both threads are underneath the foot. So to do that, you can pull them. There's a little slit on the side of the foot so you can get them both underneath. We put our fabric in and we put our presser foot down. The presser foot presses the fabric onto the feed dogs that pull it through. So the first thing, a straight stitch. If you press the gas pedal at the bottom, it's just like driving a car. Ah! A straight stitch. Remember that back stitching? So we lift the lever. Hey, look, we're going backwards. And then continue on. Let's say we wanted to put a zigzag in there. We are going to take this knob, turn it. We're going to turn it to a 2. Let's see what happens. See how it jumps side to side? Let's turn it up to a 5. See how it more severely jumps side to side? You can see slight zigzag, big zigzag. All right, guys, so that's the basic overview of how to use a sewing machine. Make sure to watch all the other videos that are in the slideshow and email me with any questions or anything like that. I wish we were doing this live because it's really cool to learn how to use a sewing machine. If, when we're back on campus, you want to learn how to do this for real, I can show you a whole bunch of stitches and we'll dive on in. It's fun. See you soon.